Good afternoon and welcome to Galactic Soul Healing. I'm going to be doing a spread today, this one here, using Cosmic Tarot and Animal Dreaming, because I'm really liking how these cards work together. Now today the spread is going to be a little different to our previous one. It's kind of, last time we did body, mind, spirit, okay, and it was kind of like an overall view as like what has been, what is, and what could possibly be in the future at any specific time. I was sort of meditating today, just asking Spirit what we could do, and they've kind of suggested that we do this, which is going through 3D, 4D and 5D again, but it's sort of looking at the next 2 to 3 years, okay, with respect to our body. So this is the full explanation here, and I've just abbreviated, so basically it's exactly the same for each dimensional frequency, okay. So you know, so it's going to look at say in the next 2 to 3 years, for those of us that are resonating, vibrating at a third dimensional frequency, what we will be going through physically with our bodies, okay, and what we will be feeling, what sort of things we'll be thinking about, or that we'll have to that we'll be faced with, that we might need to sort of take in terms of our concept forming, and that the feeling things could be you know, how we're feeling about being in 3D and how that's happening. But it can also and also then we're looking at the higher self. So if you're a very third dimensional person, like by that I mean quite focused on and concerned with predominantly material reality, like basically everything, like your identity and all of your concept about yourself, and that is all kind of very attached to you know, your material reality and the possessions you have, and your self-worth is linked up with that, and you might be very focused on appearances, so focusing on the physical a lot, okay. But so basically this is sort of saying that the higher self, basically over the next 2 or 3 years, if you're still kind of predominantly in 3D, there's going to be things that you might need to kind of start looking at in these areas of yourself, of your life, okay. Now I'm doing a collective spread, so this is not meant for any individual person, okay. So basically it's a case of, if any of this resonates with you, fine. If it doesn't, then don't worry about it, okay, because basically I'm a big firm believer in when we're shown things in life, if sometimes those things, what people say, what we're shown, information or whatever, if we kind of got drawn towards that and we kind of go, that's interesting, or I hadn't thought of that before, or maybe I need to look at that, or you know, or if it's like, you know, that's gobbledygook, I'm not interested, you know, it's really kind of going with what resonates with you, and just sort of really, so just perhaps before you view this video, just kind of you know, just do a quick centering meditation, just go out, get some fresh air, and just go, I'm just going to view this with an open mind, okay, and see what comes up. So obviously in the 4D, it's looking at if you're vibrating in a fourth dimensional frequency, okay, you know, what you'll be dealing with physically in terms of body. F is obviously for feelings, what the feelings might be that are coming up predominantly, and what your thoughts might be around, and what your higher self is kind of doing, because the higher self is kind of overseeing all of this, okay, and it works, the higher self works to bring it all into synergistic alignment with the purpose of the higher self's purpose, okay, which is a spiritual thing. And believe it or not, we can actually work things so that our our physical, emotional and intellectual and realities actually can come into alignment. It seems like it's a big ask, but it can happen over time, okay? And for those people that are vibrating in a fifth dimensional frequency, it's going to be looking at what's happening over the next 2 or 3 years in terms of physically, emotionally, intellectually or mentally, and with your higher self as well, like where you're going to be at. So this is just the way the card's going to be laid out, okay? So I'll just get you to, now I have to apologise for the last video. I was doing a bit of sniffing. I'm actually having hot lemon today. I'm trying all these different healthy drinks. I did have coffee today, this morning. A bit hard to give up coffee, I'm afraid. But, yeah. Now, okay, so now we're just going to shuffle these, and as I've done before. Oh, by the way, we're just using the Major Arcana, so these 22 cards from the Cosmic Tarot. Okay, and this is the Animal Dreaming cards. Alright, just to quickly flick you those packets again in case you want to get some for yourself. I think these might still be in print. They're fairly recent. I got them a few years ago. Animal Dreaming by Scott Alexander. And I believe they are actually Australian animals. And I am actually from Australia, so you can probably tell by my accent. And there's the Cosmic Tarot. Okay. Yeah, so we've got Cosmic Tarot, Animal Dreaming. Yeah. So we're just going to shuffle these. And we're just going to call in, collectively those spirit guides and archangels that are watching over humanity, and also any members of light beings, members of the Galactic Federation of Light, or the Syrian or Arcturian Council, or any other councils that are in other galaxies or on other planets, that or federations that would have information to pass on through these cards. That be done, within the next hour, over the course of this session. Also ask any ancestral guides to come through for humanity. Any other prominent figures, ascended masters, if any of them would wish to contribute here, would be most welcome. Also, galactically speaking, any input from the consciousnesses of Arcturus, Sirius, Andromeda, from the Blue Avian Collective consciousness would be most appreciated. Any Lyran or Vegan consciousness information. Really any higher frequency being or spirit guide that wishes to assist us at this time would be really lovely. We'd appreciate it a lot. Any assistance that we can receive, we receive gratefully. Okay. And we also just like to request that any information that comes through be directed for the good of all, and direct people to their inner wisdom, towards their evolution and towards their own unity consciousness, and of course joining with others in unity consciousness as well. We acknowledge that there's particularly challenging times currently for the human race, and we really welcome any support or assistance, and we were really grateful for anything that we can assist us at this time. Okay, now we'll just cut these once, twice, 3 times. Once, twice, 3 times. Okay. Now, I'm not going to change that stack. I'm just putting it, let's put it here so you can see it's still there. Now, as we put these down, we're going 3D here. Body, feeling, thinking, higher self. So I'll just put this down. Now the closer cards, I'm not sure that you guys are going to see all of them, but I will show them. Feeling, thinking, and higher self. We do have room here for the 3 rows. 4th dimensional, body, feeling, thinking, and higher self. And 5th dimension, body, feeling, thinking, and higher self. And now we don't need those. Now we'll do the same here. I particularly liked how previously we did this type of spread with the 2 cards, how they work together, and I also like how when I place these that they actually fit. One fits inside the other. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now, I'm not changing the position of any of these cards. Okay, and there's no one else here, so they're not going to be shifted around behind the scenes, just to allay any suspicion. Now. So I hope you can see that board. Yes, that looks good. Okay, I'm just going to have one more sip of lemon. That's good. Now, let us begin. Okay, we have the 2 cards for the 3rd dimensional body. So this is over the next 2 to 3 years. Okay, what will be happening in the 3rd dimensional frequency kind of realms with respect to the physical body. Okay. Now, isn't that fascinating? Do you remember that spread we did? I actually did that yesterday, and I'm actually called to do another spread already. But look at that. This is the strength card in the cosmic pack. Yesterday, for the physical, we had the strength card that came out of the animal dreaming pack pertaining to the physical. Now, this is strength here, and this says it's an owl, and it says deception. Okay, now the interesting thing is that purely on a symbolic level, okay, if we're not looking at the words, okay, first of all, purely on a symbolic level, okay, we have a woman there, so feminine, so divine feminine aspect, okay. We have a lion, often associated with the qualities of strength, courage, leadership, power, empowerment, okay, and the owl, or a bird, that usually birds have actually a very high consciousness, okay? Because if you think about it, they can fly, right? Now, the owl obviously is a bird that can fly, but the owl can actually see in the dark as well. Now, which means that it has quite powerful sight, okay, and it can see from a long way away too. So it's far-sighted, or it has a far-sighted view. So basically it can stand a long way back and see the big picture, so to speak. Okay. Now, there's different ways to read these cards, okay? Obviously, we can look at the word strength and deception, and we can create a story around that, which I could do. But we could also do pure symbology. Now, I think the last bit I did was, we did quite a bit of the word stuff, okay? I think for this reading, I'd like to look at the pictorially, the image a bit more. We can certainly touch on the words, but I think we'll just look at the image first of all here. So let's just cover the words for a minute, because sometimes like words switch us into the cognitive realm. Okay, when we see a word we go So we might just do this in a little more relaxed way today, but see that in terms of the physical body. That woman with the strength there, it's sort of suggesting that in terms of the physical body, okay, it's like we people in the 3D will need to kind of start looking at or activating their bodies, not in like in an effeminate way, but in a way that's a little more receptive or meditative, okay, which we did touch on yesterday. So it's this sort of feminine aspect of the body or movement, because as we know, the body is sort of made to move, okay, but it's also looking at the strength, okay, of the feminine. Okay, now I think it's also kind of alluding to the fact that men are perhaps going to need to, in terms of physicality, perhaps focus a bit less on the masculine strength, okay, the masculine physical power and all that sort of thing, and maybe start looking at more how do I say this, more so I'm going to say more feminine, more softer ways of using their body, like it's hard to explain, like perhaps doing more stretching, more breathing, deep breathing, bringing the mind and body together in relaxation, rather than going hammer and tongs and trying to lift, X number of weight like 50 million times. And, so I think it's sort of alluding to, see, the lion is actually that's actually a male lion. So it's almost like physically people are going to be needing to start thinking of their bodies in terms of them being masculine and feminine at the same time, which is, it sounds contradictory, but for instance, if a woman was actually, say, normally in 3D, she's very passive and she doesn't do any exercise whatsoever, okay, a part of her masculine, to balance that out, she would ideally be doing some physical activity, because it is masculine to actually do physical activity. I'm not saying it's not feminine, but I guess I'm trying to say in terms of principle, it's the active, projective, or the receptive energy that we're looking at. Okay, so it's sort of saying that people start needing to look at their bodies in terms of their bodies being receptive of energy, as well as their bodies being able to exert energy. Okay. The owl is actually also a kind of bit of a symbol of wisdom. So it's kind of saying that if you want to tap into your wisdom, okay, see how he's just about to sort of take flight, maybe either he's just landed or he's about to take off. Okay, to kind of really expand your wisdom and sort of fly with it, you really need to think of yourself physically. I mean, I don't want to say the word androgynous, but it's almost like, there's no shame in, for instance, like a woman lifting some weights, and there's no shame in a woman actually going to exercise, because I think some women actually have this idea that it's a guy's thing, it's not a women's thing to go, we have to stay at home and do all this sewing and stuff like that. It's actually, so we need to be doing both, and there's no shame in, a guy doing some yoga. Right? There's no shame in that. There's no shame either in a woman just doing a little bit of light body, resistance training. So the thing is, I think the women are perhaps more onto mind-body connection, and the men are sort of probably a little bit more traditionally in a 3D. The women are into mind-body connection, and the men are generally a bit more into, creating strength and power. Okay, but what we're saying is that the men start to needing to balance that out and do some mind-body connection stuff as well, and maybe the women actually do need to kind of start developing some strength and a little bit more, because that does give them a sense of empowerment. And I have studied fitness, and I notice that there is a difference. If your muscles are stronger, you do feel a little more empowered. But we're not saying that that's the be-all and end-all of personal growth and development, is it? Because the physical body is one thing. We have other aspects to us. But they're just saying in terms of body in the 3D, people will need to start doing this, and that if they can do this, integrate them, then there's more wisdom happening. Now, the fact that she's that woman is naked and she seems to be holding up a picture of a line on the t-shirt there, or whatever it is, or that piece of fabric, I think symbolically, it's still all in there. I've just noticed, I think maybe on the top of her head there, I think that looks almost like a cobra head, which is, snakes are kind of symbolic of healing. So it's sort of saying that there's a healing process going on. And I would say there's as much a healing process going on for women to develop their strength as there is for men developing their feminine and their mind-body connection with some breathing and deep relaxation. Okay? Because both of those things pertain to the physical, right? And isn't that interesting that the owl is there? Yeah, it's almost like it is definitely a healing thing. But it's interesting because the body is energetic, okay, it's physiological, and also the chemicals that affect our the feel-good chemicals, or that cause from emotions even, can actually affect the way we think too. Okay, so the main thing is that it's actually a wise idea. That's the symbology I get from that. The deception thing. I think it's sort of trying to say, don't be deceived. Don't be deceived into thinking that, physical strength only is going to help you to progress spiritually. Okay, it's almost saying up here, symbolically, this is the wise thing to do, to combine these. And when you get down here, it's like, well, okay, don't be deceived that this word here is really just the only thing that this is describing. You know, we're not. It's not just about physical strength. Okay, it's about mind-body connection, balancing masculine and feminine aspects, getting into unity, harmony, moving away from distorted views of what it means to be masculine and feminine, and moving into more harmonious and functional. Because growing up, we haven't really had very much functional, harmonious stuff happen. There's been a lot of stuff going on historically with men and women that's been really, really bad, distorted, and completely bloody functional, really. So it's saying that don't keep being deceived that, you know, physical strength is the way to go. And when I said, okay, females, women might need to add a little bit of physical strength, of course that's done in balance. That's fine, isn't it? Okay. So I could rave on all day about that one, really. But, I mean, we could put that down at that. But really, it's sort of like activating wisdom if you can balance these aspects here. You know, it's almost like softness with strength, really, isn't it? Or it's gentleness with strength. That's really probably even a better way to put it. Because, you know, guys, it's nice to be strong, I suppose, but are you gentle? Are you gentle with that? And women, I mean, it's nice to be gentle too, but women, are you actually strong enough to actually be a bit assertive when you need to be? Or are you just a complete doormat? You know, like, softness and gentleness and strength do not have to be these opposites. And that's almost the dysfunction that historically we've had to put up with, being men or women, is like, you know, women have had to put up with the role models of kind of, well, we need to be extremely submissive or extremely whatever, and the guys have to be extremely strong and powerful and all the rest of it. Okay? Anyway, let's leave it at that. I mean, you can also come up with your own interpretation of these. I mean, if you wanted to take a little photo of that, you know, you could take a screenshot or whatever, and then, you know, do your own interpretation too. Because I'm also a big believer in people coming up with their own interpretations, because it's really exciting. I apologise profusely. It was about 10 minutes on one thing. Feelings. So this is in the next next 2 or 3 years, people in 3D are going to start balancing this out. Okay? And they're wise if they can do that. So I really like how that is together, because it's sort of saying, you know what, there's a little wise movement there, and some little tip for you to take on fitness wise, lifestyle wise. Okay, now feelings. This is what people in 3D are going to be going through the next couple of years, 2 to 3 years. I cannot believe this. Look, see how that came up last reading we did, and look, fear. So we did speak about this before, but the feelings now associated with this, I mean, obviously those people there that are falling out of the building, they would be having a lot of this right now. You know, there's a lot of fear around at the moment, and I guess the next 2 or 3 years, you know, there might be, you know, some breakdown of things happening, and obviously we're going to have all sorts of feelings about that. And one of the main ones is going to be fear. You know, we might have grief, sadness, frustration, confusion, you know, a whole lot of things. But the little saving grace in this is that there's 2 saving graces here. See this little animal? Bilbies. You know, they're actually soft little creatures. And I think they're actually quite social. So in terms of overcoming our fear, we really need to start gelling with people around us, our families and our friends. And you might have to go through some processing internally to do that. You might have to go through a little bit of internal breakdown so that you can look at yourself a little bit. Okay, and you might even have to have a few DMCs with people, aka deep meaningful conversations. There's no harm in that. The other little saving grace here is that that insight, it looks like that's causing the destruction, but I believe that is actually what happens when people start to get onto a spiritual path. Things that they used to value and hold up there sort of gradually diminish in value. So basically there could be another drawing added onto this where there's something else here that's replacing this that's being destroyed. Okay, and I think that's what we need to find so that we can sort of allay this. So in terms of feelings, it's actually change. We're dealing with a lot of change, and that can be a little bit scary, but we have to get support from each other, and we have to really have faith that this here, and this is the thing, this is where the thinking and the feeling are really going to cross over, because sometimes the feelings can be changed a lot by how you think about something. Okay, now that leads us into the next stack, because we're going to be looking at the thinking. Okay, so just keep in mind that there's a lot of that going around right now, and so so we're going to see how that feeling, those feelings there of that, link into this, which is the thinking. Okay, so in 3D, this is the thinking here. Oh wow, trickster and the Emperor. Okay. The dingo. Now, that's a dog. Okay. Now, a trickster, as you know, is actually quite clever. Right? So, and probably quite resourceful. Now, this here, destruction and fear, okay, we are, to kind of mitigate that or overcome it, we are actually going to have to be on top of things. We're going to have to be resourceful. We're going to have to start making the most of what we've got. We're going to have to start working in clever ways. Okay. And this card here, which has come up before, is almost like a bit of a mastery card, in my opinion. It, apart from the beard, I mean that's a masculine thing, but the facial features are sort of a bit androgynous. And we have like a lot of symmetry and pattern here. There's a lot of order. Okay, and this looks like a heart shape here. So it's sort of like saying this person here is actually, it's almost like, the question comes to mind, is that his heart there? Has he literally put his heart out on the table? So it's kind of like saying, someone's actually, it's like a mastery thing, because it seems to be sort of saying that in terms of purpose, right, what people will be thinking is that they will literally have to be putting themselves out there, like heart-wise. Okay, and they can do that in ways that are beneficial for the good of all. And there may need to be some rearrangement or some clever, not in terms of taking advantage of people, okay, but it's kind of saying that there will be a bit of that going on. Because this trickster thing here, it's like with a trickster, you don't know if they are working for the good, or they're working for the good of all, or for the good of themselves. Okay, so it's sort of saying in the thinking thing, there'll be a lot of people that are like having a selfish perspective, but there'll be also be some that are having a benevolent perspective in which they are helping others, okay, as well as looking after themselves, but not looking after themselves at the expense of others, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, which is really the days of yore, where we have today currently, we have the leaders that are, those organisations and companies that we know that are pretty much destroying the environment in the interest of making money. They're saying they're making money so they can employ people, and so it's good for the people, sure, but they're actually destroying the environment, and they're kind of, basically destroying life in that process. Okay, so it's kind of this crazy situation where, they're sort of destroying the planet, which actually gives us life, and then they're justifying it by saying, well, we're making this money, which gives people money so that they can afford to live and pay for rent and pay for stuff. But in reality, the planet is of sufficient surface area to grow enough food for the people that are here, and if things were just organised better, we wouldn't have the need for the destruction of the environment. Okay, so I think this is sort of saying that there's going to be heart-centered mastery that is more in line with order. I mean, this could be like represent cosmic order, and see this circular thing here and this circular thing here. That's like a whole is the whole. Okay, so it's sort of like saying it's going to be more respectful of the soul, more respectful of the whole in terms of the whole globe, the whole planet. Okay. So this could be interpreted as we need to devise new and clever ways in order to bring this about, or it can be devised as there will be consciousnesses and people that will try and capitalize on things for their own benefit, but not that it's not necessarily in line with this. But let's go with the positive view and say, look, we need to start working in clever ways, using what we've got, being resourceful, so that we can step into a more whole, heart-centered, respectful way of being, way of life, which is for the good of all, okay? And this is the thinking cards. So it's sort of to do with, it's really saying to people in 3D, they're going to really they will need to start thinking about what their true heart, what their heart is saying, which is kind of links into feelings, doesn't it? But it's almost about what their purpose is. Okay, and just be aware that there's a lot of forces, aka archetypal forces, which I can go into another time, that are actually trying to trick people out of doing that. Okay, there are forces that cause people to go into little dramas and all sorts of things within their own psyches that prevent them from doing their sole purpose. Okay, so if you do have to work to earn a little bit of money, but there's something that you really love to do that you can actually start doing, then you kind of need to do it rather than just listen to that little voice that says don't do that, it's a waste of time. If you've got your bases covered, right, you need to start doing that and giving yourself a chance to start maybe activating your heart-centered purpose. Okay, so it is actually quite an intellectual card because it does involve decision making. Okay, and it involves coming up with new clever ideas of how you can integrate things so that you can work towards this. I think that sounds okay. Now, this is going to be a long one. I'm trying to get the most out of the symbology that I can today because, I'm trying to get the most out of it. Right, higher self for 3D. So this is sort of alluding to purpose, isn't it? Which is kind of a bit of a segue into higher self. Now, okay, so these are the cards for higher self. this chariot keeps rearing its head. It appeared yesterday it was in the fourth dimension, okay, about moving towards divine masculine, divine feminine, right? Now, here we are in the 3rd D now. In the next 2 or 3 years, okay, people are going to be making that shift. Isn't that beautiful? And that is the transformation. It is the transformation and the opening up of the wings and the full expanse of the beauty of that person, of the soul, of the higher self. Okay? That is amazing. I've got chills. Thank you, Spirit. I really love it. I just love the symbology. Look at that. Just to quickly recap. So the black horse is representing the divine feminine. The white horse is representing the divine masculine. Okay. The carriage is like the physical body. Okay. And the driver is like the higher self, literally driving and controlling these masculine and feminine aspects of us. Because if you're a very masculine person, you're very see, the masculine and feminine, I need to use the words projective energy and receptive energy, okay? If you're a very projective person, you're always projecting, but you never kind of just take time to just sort of receive and breathe and just sort of relax, okay? Then it's kind of like you're typically like a masculine type personality, okay? Now, to evolve and to transform and to move up into a love frequency, you can't do that if you keep projecting and you never go into receptive. Because we, as humans evolving, we need to start being able to receive things into our intuition so that we can respond sensitively and gently and move ourselves up into a 5th dimensional frequency vibration, which is love, compassion, forgiveness, understanding, acceptance, all of that beautiful soft stuff. We can still be strong with that, and we can still, use our strength to help others and do that. But we need to also have this other side to ourselves, okay, that we need to start activating. And then it all just comes into flow when it starts, when these two things start working. These two horses, masculine and feminine and masculine, start running side by side in that beautiful direction where it's almost like the physical form or the physical personality is in recognition of the higher self, and it's almost like the physical person, that the personality of the person, the conscious personality, acknowledges that the higher self is driving, and that is the rightful place. Okay, and that's where the transformation occurs. This is literally the transformation, is when the higher self, it's when the personality realizes and senses and feels in a deep way that they do have a higher self, and that is their wise self, their understanding self, the one that is almost like the observing wise self, really. That one is the one that wants to run the show, to run your show, to be the creator of the life and the purpose of the soul, of the being, of the whole shiz kabang, right? That's the transformation. Is when you switch over from going, I'm just a conscious personality that's reacting to things around me, and I've got to do this, I've got to do that, because people are telling me to do that, do that, do that, do that. After we've done enough introspection and enough meditation, relaxation, whatever number of years, okay, we start to sense the higher self, okay, the wise aspect of us, and then there's sometimes a little switch. It's slowly little switches happen till you get to the point where you just go, you know what, I feel like there's a big shift that's just happened. That is the transformation, folks, and that is the higher self. Literally, in the next 2 or 3 years, there'll be more people that are in the 3rd D now, okay, in the next 2 or 3 years, that they will be experiencing this beautiful transformation. This is so awesome. Ah. I can't believe that. Like, how perfect is that? We even had fear in the emotion part, you know, and we had tricks in the thinking part. Like, there's such a mental, like, clever kind of mind thing, isn't it? And then this beautiful one here, we had the physical one, which was sort of deception. So don't be deceived, you know, by the physical appearance, right? Now, we're going 4D, body. Let's see what's happening in the fourth dimensional frequency over the next 2 to 3 years with respect to our physical body. Balance. Empress we had yesterday to do with the physical as well. Do you remember? When we were talking about softness and nutrition and taking in better quality food. Becoming aware of what nutrition does. You've got hydration, you've got you know, your vitamins, minerals. I'm not saying to take supplements, but just being aware of beautiful organic natural food and what you're taking into your body. But now look at this balance. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. These birds are everywhere where I live. They're just awesome. They're so friendly too. Some of them just come right up to you like a metre away. They're just on the ground. Look up at you. Look, oh, this is just awesome. I cannot believe this. So physically, on a body level, for people that are in 4D, okay, or if you're moving into 4D over the next 4 years, you'll start to experience more balance. And guess what we were just talking about here? In the physical for 3rd D, we were talking about balancing that masculine and feminine approach to physical activity. But it's also an approach to mind-body activity. But also with that, it's an increased awareness of the internal, not just the external, which we mentioned before, not just the external of, you know, skin, flesh, bones, muscle, you know, how much, you know, body fat you have on. It's not just about that. Okay, it's also about the energy bodies within you. And see how that Empress is very poised. And look at this. He looks very poised as well, if you ask me. And they're both kind of facing each other as well. Like, she's just sort of... Yeah, it's really beautiful. Like, so it's to do with balance, poise, being conscious of the chakras. Physically, those energy centers in the body, okay, and we mentioned this yesterday, was also pertaining to the physical, okay, and it was actually in the 4th D. So this Empress has really come through in terms of the feminine, but it's about the internal taking. So we're assuming here that the balance has happened, but now it's also a case of balancing us out nutritionally, okay. And it's about being aware, looking, tuning into what your body needs. I think that's the real key, because sometimes we can be in this strength phase here and we're kind of really focused on let's get the protein in. But sometimes when you start to fine tune, you actually realize that that your body maybe, I mean, it doesn't actually really need that much protein. Obviously, if you do a hard physical labouring job, you might need more protein than other people. But, you know, if you're really pumping it at the gym and you're torturing yourself and stuff like that, and you're hamming down 20 eggs a day and all that sort of stuff, you know, that could be a bit extreme. So it's just sort of saying to kind of just... take a different tack, or just try and tweak it a bit, so you're just kind of easing up, so it's a bit less torturous, okay, and try and put some other body work in there, like maybe stretching or doing a body-mind relaxation, and try and focus in on chakras, okay, and also nutrition. You know, if you're a ham and eggs person, it might be nice to start introducing some fruit and veg. Okay. This is the body one. All right, now 4D. What time we got? It's 3 o'clock. Oh my god, this is so hilarious because I was going to stop at 3 o'clock and go do some Tai Chi, but I'm having too much fun now. Tai Chi can wait. We'll do that at 4. Now, feelings for 4D in the next 2 to 3 years. What are people going to be experiencing in 4th dimensional frequency? If they're moving up into that, or if they're already in it, over the next 2 to 3 years, what's going to be happening? Oh, wow. Personal power. So people are going to be feeling a little bit more powerful in 4th D. Look at this. This horse is a beautiful. There's something about horses just very spiritual. I think they just sort of symbolically, if we're looking at this, it's just very much about freedom. Okay, there's going to be more feeling of freedom, and yeah, and freedom also. But see, look at this. It's going to be this beautiful third eye opening. So there's going to be some consciousness happening, and people will probably start to feel a bit freer in their feelings. And also the intuition is also about sensing and kind of feeling. See, sensing is sort of about having intuition or gut feelings. Do you know what I mean? So people will start to tune into this, and they'll start to trust it more. And this will start to kind of help them to sort of feel a bit more empowered and also more free, because the thing is, we're not, we shouldn't be feeling bound by a lot of things. You know, and this beautiful horse, I just love animal symbology. Like, this is also, just looking at the symbology now. You know, as we know traditionally, horses have been historically, they've really helped humans. Basically, that was our means of transport, of getting around. Okay, now I'm looking at this here. I mean, this person looks a little bit sort of galactic, androgynous, but you know, there's a moustache, so there's that kind of masculine aspect to it. But the eyes look quite feminine. But it's almost a little bit like, you know, the horse and its rider. That's kind of what it seems. And you've actually got these, I mean, there's a sword there, isn't it? So it's sort of like the feeling is actually going to be beautiful kind of empowerment, almost like mystical or a reminiscing of ancient times and indigenous civilizations, and almost like a feelings of like, hey, there's some past life ancient stuff coming through that it's going to feel right, like it's going to feel that we're on the right track in terms of, see, nature here, and we've got the elements, but this is these things that actually represent the physical. So we will still have the natural environment to deal with, and people, right? The physical realm, the emotional realm, the intellectual, and the spiritual. So all of those things will start to come into our awareness, and we will be able to navigate them with more intuition and more knowing. Okay, and not only that, we're going to be connected to spirit more as well. So it's almost like shamanic. It's a very shamanic. This is a very shamanic pairing, because the feeling is going to be a connection to spirit. There's going to be a lot more of that feeling going on, and that is going to be freeing. That is it. That's the message I'm getting. So it just takes me a little while to kind of feel into the symbology, but I think that's what Spirit's sort of trying to say to us there, because I'm trying to those images together. I definitely there's a definite connection to spirit, because you know, horses in the wild, they just look like free spirits, don't they? They're just amazing. And this is obviously a very insight, spiritual kind of thing here, because you've got the light of insight coming out. So people in 4D in the next 2 or 3 years are going to be seeing more, they're going to be intuiting more, they're going to be feeling more free than they have, and certainly they will be experiencing a bit of personal power too. But we're not going to see, I feel like with the power aspect that we don't need to hold that back, but we just need to focus on what it is that's actually going on within inside of us, rather than kind of focusing on we're going to have power, because we actually need to have our internal sense of what we're aligning that power with. We have to develop our own internal compass, okay, before we can actually run with this power. So it's sort of saying that it's going to be, if it's power with insight, and obviously taking all these other things into consideration, and it's going to be power, in the name of freedom for people. But I think that's a really beautiful feeling combination there, in terms of feeling, that real connection to spirit. I think. But oh my God, have you just seen that pairing of that symbology there? Can you see how there's a triangle here? Right, look at that horse's forehead. That is like a diamond shape on there as well. I don't know how these cards feel like this. It's amazing. And see that white on that mane? That's just, white is kind of like a colour of purity, isn't it? So it's almost like, there's going to be a lot of pure intent, pure intuition, and purity happening. And that's fine if we've got power with it, because we want power with purity. And I'm not saying, like, just because, what's his name, Hitler, it's not about the pure race. We're not going to be doing that, okay? We're just saying that it's a pureness of heart. Obviously, he was not acting in pureness of heart if he's going around saying, well, these people are pure and these not, let's kill them once. That is not a heart-centered way, and it's certainly not respecting of life. So that is completely wrong, okay, which we all know. But this is something different. It's beautiful, it's soft, and this is like insight, intuition, and nature and everything. So the feeling is going to be of freedom, more freedom in the fourth dimension in the next 2 to 3 years. Okay, now, in terms of thinking, we're going to be, what people in fourth dimensional frequency are going to be thinking. Of course, people are going to be thinking and feeling other things beside of this, but this is just giving us some little key things, perhaps, for our encouragement to focus on too. And I think that's what Spirit wants to do. They, of course, they do want to encourage and help and assist us. Okay, now this is fascinating. The thinking, breath. The Hanged Man. You know what that card is? It looks bad, but it's actually not, because see how even though he's hanging upside down, so it can literally be, metaphorically speaking, that his world is turned upside down. He's actually centered, calm, and focused. Look at that. Okay? And he's probably quite capable of actually moving himself out of that position anyway, because I don't think he's actually not tied to that stick branch up there. That's actually by choice. Okay, so the other little message behind this is that we can choose how we perceive things. It might seem sometimes that things are upside down, but we can choose to be centered, and we can also choose to not feel upside down. Isn't that interesting? So in terms of thinking, that's actually quite empowering, because it's sort of saying that in the fourth dimensional frequency in the next 2 or 3 years, there will be some challenges, and we will feel at times like things are kind of opposite or way different from what they used to be. Okay, speaking of just recent times. Things have changed radically, okay? We've had to deal with a lot of disasters and pandemics and things. You know, and that makes you feel like this, like, whew. But we are resilient. And the other thing that see behind that figure there, the constant, is the source light. Okay? Now the breath, isn't that amazing? Like if I turn that upside down like that, that is actually, this figure here, it looks like he's doing yoga, like he's doing a one stand, okay? Meditation, and he's probably focusing on the breath. I kid you not, like it's sort of saying that if this is happening, all you need to do is focus on your breath, which is so true, because you know what? The breath is the bridge. So the breath is the bridge between the mind and the body. So time and time again, for instance, I've done this. You go through a stressful day, going through the motions. I feel a bit sort of whatever, frazzled. Go into my room, lie down, put my relaxation on, a guided one that actually says to me, breathe in deeply, breathe out, breathe in. So just that whole slowing down, and there's other things too that come in because it's about chakras energy as well. But just that very, after 20 minutes, I kid you not, I feel like my state of consciousness has completely changed. And you know what? The frantic kind of busy feeling in your body, like the restlessness, goes as well. Because when we're in overdrive mentally, our bodies are in overdrive. Okay? As soon as we can relax mentally and really kind of get into the breath, if we can relax our breathing and sort of do the deep belly breath, okay, it helps to allay that restlessness, stressed feeling. Yoga will help with this, breath work. You can try Qigong, Tai Chi. Look at this. This is actually almost a Qigong move as well. You know, like this. But they're saying that even if your world turns upside down, just focus on your breath. Okay? So they're kind of saying that there might be a little bit of world turning upside down. Not in terms of world being destroyed, okay? They're just saying that there could be more changes. And certainly within oneself, the values and priorities will change. Because remember, we had this, the feelings of this kind of being, everything being recalibrated. Okay. It's really, and you know, this is really actually a really beautiful tip. It's to do with, this is definitely in 4D, it's that connection between breath, which is with these cards are pertaining to the thinking, okay, because the breathing, relaxing the breath will help you to relax your thinking, okay, which links in beautifully to the body cards we just looked at in 4D, which is the balance. That will help you to balance, okay, and also make some better decisions. If you're relaxed, it's going to be easier for you to take in some nice nutrition and look after yourself physically. Because I don't know about you, but when I'm really stressed, what's the type of food you go for the most when you're stressed? The sugar hits, the coffee hits, the stuff that's, you know, the fast food, the whatever's convenient, because you feel like you've got no time, right? But if you relax first, you know, maybe just give yourself a hot drink of some sort. Try not to overload it with sugar. Have a hot drink. Just relax. Do your meditation. And then you go, oh, okay, I actually feel quite good now. Yeah, maybe I will just boil some potatoes and chuck a can of tuna in there and maybe a bit of salad on the side. Way better than, you know, going to get an oily burger. So this is the thinking, okay, for 4D. And it's that definite link between, we're going to have to be becoming a lot more conscious of the link between our thoughts and our breathing. Okay? Another little hint there is go out in fresh air. Because if you're breathing fresh air, you're getting in more oxygen. That's to do with the breath. Another thing here is that swimming or being in water can actually be quite beautiful and relaxing. Take a bath, take a shower. Go to the beach, have a swim. Go to the pool if it's, if you're not allergic to chlorine. Right. This is going so awesome. It's been 1 hour. I'm going to town on this symbology, folks. That's it. I'm going to town on it. Higher self, 4D. So in the next 2 or 3 years, what people are happening of fourth dimensionally, spiritually. Wow. Oh my God. We have frog cleansing. Isn't he beautiful? That's so awesome. And look at that, we have the child in the sun, which is just really innocent and pure. And this is higher self, okay? Higher self stuff. Okay. This is further about just really cleansing, learning how to energetically shift those negative vibrational energies, entities, influences and attachments that are in your field. Okay, it's learning how to cleanse your energy field. Your higher self really appreciates it. Now, a really good suggestion here for cleansing: go on YouTube, right? Listen to I found this beautiful one lately. It's called self-love meditation music, I think. Beautiful cleansing. You can do aura cleansing music. Put that in your search on YouTube. Chakra cleansing music. Try and do 7 chakra one. Cleanse your whole chakras, right? But any beautiful relaxation music, even drumming journey music, can be actually be cleansing too. Okay, if you feel really super stressed and super in your head, put on some drumming music. Oh, it is so relaxing. Okay, and that will just cleanse all of that stuff going on, right? The sun, the higher self. Now this is really your connection to source and your inner child. Your inner child needs to be, or it will be in 4D. You will need to start acknowledging this, because you need to be able to find out what gives you joy as a child. As children sort of, I think those children anyway that are not surrounded by a lot of heavy kind of energies, they tend to have like a very innocent view of life, and they're easily amused. Okay, I don't know about these days, because a lot of them are addicted to screens. But I think, as a parent, if you've been able to keep your child off of a screen before the age of 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, I think you've done them a good service, because they'll be able to, they can get enjoyment from simple things, and that is that's their soul essence, for them to find out what those things are, okay, in early childhood. That's not to say that it's not possible to do that, but children need to interact in a sensorial way with their environment, in a multisensory way, and being out in nature is really great for that. Okay, now even as adults, okay, see this child in nature. We actually need to go out in nature, and you know what else is really good about being in nature? It is cleansing for our energetic field, folks. I can't believe these cards are together. It's so awesome. Look at that frog also. He's a very, they're kind of peaceful. I get that they eat flies, but they're also soft and smooth, and they also, they're happy on the land, they're happy in the water, okay? They're just awesome. So it's almost like balance as well. Cleanse, balance, rejuvenate, get some sunlight, get some nature, fresh air, and just try, if you're in nature, right, if you're meditating, try and just kind of tune into your innocence. Try and tune into those childhood feelings that you had, that you enjoyed. Okay, and you'll find what you need to do in terms of activating, getting in touch with your inner child. You can even dialogue with your inner child as well. But isn't that interesting? That is like a sun. It's like a huge central sun, which is like source energy. Okay, now we're also going to talk about this in terms of it being unconditional divine light, love, consciousness. And guess what that child is at one with? In some ways, a child, in some ways a child is more connected to this. It's more similar to this than it is similar to their parents. Okay, because the parent has gone through like a large number of years of life. Okay, and it may or may not be acknowledging or in contact with this source. Okay, and there may or may not be lots of overlays and rules that have to come into place in order for one to be in contact with this source, coming from the parent. Okay, but the thing is, the child is just naturally connected to this. We all are, but sometimes children, because they can step into joy and bliss more quickly, okay, they are actually closer to this than adults. And I've always felt this very strongly, is that, for instance, I used to be a childcare worker. And you know what? I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a spiritual person or whatever, but I always just find it very easy to be, how much shall I say? I basically have a lot of respect for little children, because I feel that actually their default, like their natural state, is one of joy. And they know that that's what they need to be in. But they're little beings and the little souls. They have to deal with a lot of other stuff too. And I'm just really amazed often that some children particularly are, and I think the younger the child, the more joy they have. And it's really beautiful to be around. And this is why people love babies and they love little kids, okay? So, and this is the thing that we're trying to say here, spiritually in the 4th D, is that, try and tap into that part of yourself, because you still have your inner child. You are still that little child that you were X number of years ago, okay? You are still connected to this light, because that connection doesn't change. It only you perceive that it changes because of the way that your psyche and has been overladen with other types of energies. Okay, this is why once you can peel those energies off, you do the work, okay, the soul clearing, the cleansing, okay, you actually start to feel this. And you can feel this and still be an adult. Okay, you can feel connected to source and still be an adult. And that's what 4D is about. That's what they're saying about this higher self, I believe now, as I'm saying this. Is that people will start to sense this connection that they had when they were a child. But it can only happen as a result of some cleansing that goes on, because you really got to get back from your adult self, you've got to get back to your child self. Okay, in order to do that. And of course that doesn't mean you walk around as an adult with a thumb in your mouth going, I'm a little kid now. And no one else, I don't want to do cooking. It's not like you walk around throwing tantrums, okay? That you behave like a child in a completely dependent way or a completely codependent way, okay? It's that within yourself, in your connection to source and your spirituality, which is inner, you're able to activate that joy, okay? Now, let's go to getting dry. Ooh, water. Oh my God, it's 3:20. I've got to get this sorted. Right, body, 5D. Let's go. 2 cards in the 5th dimension in the next 2 or 3 years. What people are going to be doing with their bodies. What's Koala doing? Inner journeys. Justice. So inner journeys is all about, see this symbol here? I'm actually so glad this happened. Look, physically in the 5th D, see that is a symbol of a circle. Now that is also a symbol of the whole, like we said before, and that can also be a symbol of the whole soul, but oh my god, it literally looks like a Merkaba. Like I'm gonna put this out there now, and I'm actually gonna say that I think this is referring to the light body. So basically in the next 2 to 3 years, people are going to start to sense their light bodies a bit more. And that comes out about as a result of doing this inner work here on the energy body and inner journeys. So it's going to be the light body activation happens when we get even more aware of our chakras, okay? Because there's chakras out here and up here that are kind of very much in the light body, okay? And you've got one below your feet as well as the ones in here. And obviously this the upper chakras obviously have to do with the spiritual chakras that have to do with activating the light body even more. So it's your crown, your brow, throat and heart, okay? So physically in the body, it's not going to be about getting super buff and super strong. It's going to be about doing those things, exercising the body with balance and with feminine and masculine ways. And see, this other word here is balance. We had this one here, that magpie. Okay, these are all the physical ones, 3, 4D, 5D. Balance. Okay. And then it's going to be a little bit more inner, because we need to come into more mind-body unity. Okay, and that might also be to do with overcoming addictions, like substance addictions, food addictions, beverage addictions, and the justice. Now, it's also interesting that, see that koala, he's literally climbing, and that tree is going up. It's like it's rooted in the ground and it's growing up into spirit. And that's the other thing about this, is that when the light body becomes activated and we're doing our inner journey, it's a little bit like we perceive more the energies from the earth, and we perceive more the energies coming from space galactically, okay, and the consciousness energies. Another thing that koalas do is they sleep a lot. Okay, so we may physically in the future need to do a bit more resting, and I have a feeling that the old nana nap or grandpa nap is going to make a big comeback. Okay, I still have trouble doing that, because I think that why should I rest in the day when I can do stuff? But sometimes at 3 or 4 o'clock I'll have a quick rest. But see the justice now, that is to do with balance again. Okay, so this is to do with the body, but also the light body. And see how we've got, this is actually almost an extension card on this. Okay, this is the balance of the physical balance way. And this is almost an extension on that, because we're looking at the insight. So basically, and there's, there's forces of, I'm not going to say light and darkness. What's the hat there? Okay, they almost look like fingers. There's actually a bird there as well, a little bird. But it's to do with insight. Okay, so there's going to be a thing about seeing. So people will see more, and they will know more, and they will know how to balance things out and how to make things right in terms of their own inner energy. Okay, in terms of the inner activation of their energy body and their light body. Okay, so the rightness or the justice of that being able to function in flow in a whole-souled way, the rightness of that will become apparent. Okay, if that makes sense. So that's in 5D. So that's the physical. Now let's go to the feelings, what the feeling's going to be in 5D. for those in 5D frequency over the next 2 or 3 years, and also those that are stepping into 5D frequency soon. The feelings are going to be, protection. Okay, love and protection. So it's actually saying that, of course, in a 5D frequency, the feeling, predominant feeling, is one of love. It's not that we're going to go and have sex with someone. It's not even necessarily that we're going to go find a partner. It's really that we're actually going to be able to really exercise compassion, communicate intimately and compassionately, forgivingly, with acceptance for people. We're going to be able to be more sensitive. Okay, and we're also going to do this with connection to spirit. Okay, and not only that, we've got our own masculine and feminine aspects working harmoniously together, so we can actually love ourselves more. Okay, so that we can actually step into our higher self, our higher purpose. And the thing with the personal protection, with the echidna, that is naturally going to be a form of protection, because once you hit the high frequency love, okay, if you can sustain that, or you're in that predominantly, and you learn how to see ways in which you can navigate your energy and manage that, navigate it, okay, that is a form of protection. Because the other thing is that you are protected by other higher frequency light beings. You're protected by your spirit guides, by ascended masters, by ancestral spirits, by people that you know that who are your spirit guides now. By that I mean people that have passed away that you've known that are in spirit, okay, because they can be spirit guides. Even pets can be spirit guides, I'm pretty sure. That there's going to be protection there. So that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? I really like that. And it will be an automatic thing that you will feel that sense of protection. Okay, as well as that love vibration is going to be that predominant feeling in 5D, which is very apt. It's a very high vibration, okay? Now, in terms of the thinking, what our mental, intellectual capacities are going to be doing in 5D in the next 2 to 3 years. Okay, so we've got endurance. Okay, so it's not going to be super easy. We will have to keep applying ourselves and to endure. And, well, look at that. You know what? I think that's a case of, we know that we're going to be able to endure because we're actually there. It's almost, I'm not going to use the word carefree. Let me put them this way. The Fool is actually a symbol of childlikeness too, of being childlike, being free, being very close to source in terms of joy and bliss. Okay, so what we're going to be thinking is that we're going to have moments, a lot of moments of joy and bliss, but it's going to be done, it will be done with a little bit of duress. In other words, it's going to be like we still need to endure the lower frequencies, and that's what we're going to be really trying to put our minds on, is how we can step into this more ourselves, and how we can help other people to step into this. Okay, so it's endurance in terms of there still needs to be a consistent effort put in. It sounds like it's a bit extraneous. Or it's kind of saying that, you know, if you can endure, and obviously you're experiencing that love vibration and you're doing your inner journeys, okay, if you can endure and keep going, you will be able to step into this state of freedom, bliss and joy. Okay, and it will be then easier to endure. I think that's what it is saying. It's like this makes all of this other endurance here that you've been through, makes it all worthwhile. Okay, so it's sort of like going, yeah. It's not like saying this will be an enduring experience, because if you're in bliss and joy, you know, so it's more like kind of saying that you'll probably be in a joy because you'll realise that how much you have endured, and that you've actually got free from all that striving. Okay, and yeah. But at the same time, there may still be some challenges in terms of that endurance, okay? Now, the higher self for 5D, what our higher self is going to be, where are they going to be at in 5D? Our higher selves are going to be at illumination, and can you see that bird? It says white. It is pure. And it's a bird, which is a very high consciousness being. Illumination. And what have we got? Are you kidding me? Look at that. Guess where the illumination is coming from, folks? There. That is amazing. Can you believe it? Like these cards, like I can't believe, like this one was slightly obscure, but I'm sure there's going to be a flow on here that I haven't quite picked yet. But you know what? Look at that. The higher self in 5D is going to be literally illuminated. And this is actually very intuitive. So there's going to be a really strong connection to source. That's all I can say about that. It's going to be a really strong connection to source, and it'll be really illuminating. And I think that's also saying that there's going to be, you know, there's definitely going to be perception of energies of things that are coming down to us from, you know, galactically, spiritually, from spirit. There's going to be stuff that we're going to start perceiving and sensing in various different ways, and everyone's going to perceive this differently. Okay, some people will be getting things telepathically, some people will see things, some people will hear things, they'll be sensing things, there'll be channeling, there'll be all sorts of things. And it's not just from other consciousnesses, okay? It's going to be from the higher aspects of one's own consciousness. So basically everyone's higher self has multi-dimensional aspects. And so it's literally like a coming home. So literally we'll be reunited with all those beautiful higher aspects. Okay? And the, you know, and coming into a really beautiful understanding of what our soul really is. Okay? Yeah, let's leave it at that. Now I want to do the connections. So that is really beautiful, that illumination. I haven't seen this card for a long time, and it's just bang there. Illumination. Like, I kid you not. That is so awesome. Now, I can't believe this. Right, let's look at the flow on. It's been 1.5 hours, folks. Oh my God. I wonder if you're still here. Okay, so we've had, right, I don't think I've got time to do the flow on, but basically, I think I just want to do the flow on for the 5D, because, now, we've got the Justice. Okay, so it's the inner journeys, that light body coming on, okay? And then we're flowing on too. When the light body comes on, we're stepping even more into the love vibration, okay? Because we can't do anything but that. If our light body is on, we are activated, okay? It's the love vibration, and that is a beautiful protection. And you know what the other thing is? We're not only protecting ourselves in that, we're protecting others, and we're protecting the planet, because we're helping to raise the frequency, okay? Now, once we've done that, we've got protection and love vibration. We're moved into the endurance. So we have to keep doing that. Okay, but if I'm looking at this bird here, let's just look at the symbology. Basically, that bird is actually saying, keep your feet on the ground, because it's actually a flightless bird. Okay, even though it's high consciousness, it's got its feet on the ground. So in terms of, you know, spirituality and thinking, okay, there's going to be a lot of practical, hands-on work on the ground that's going to be doing. that we're going to be doing while we're having high consciousness. Okay? And if we can do that, if we can manage that for, I think there's going to be a period of time that we need to do that for. There might be some regeneration work is what I'm feeling. Regeneration stuff, if we can hang in there and keep working and having our higher consciousness, we will be rewarded, because it will pay off in the end. Not pay off, but it will be worth it, because regeneration will start to happen, okay? In terms of environment, I think that's what it's about, environment. Because really, we do have to look after the earth, don't we? As well as ourselves and other people. But really, environment is the thing. So there's going to be that. Now, whether or not... so let's just leave it at that. And once we've got this, okay, then we will be perceiving more other stuff coming help for us, and as well as our other higher selves, and we'll have some beautiful illumination. And I think that is when we will be really awakening into this idea and this reality that we are actually a part of a galactic family, a universal galactic thing going on, where we are not the only planet, they're not the only civilization, and not the only form of life. Okay, and this is what I think illumination is going to be, and I think that's what that's representing, because it's literally saying that, okay, we're just down here, okay? But that's still, quite consciously aware of the fact that this is happening. But we'll be able to perceive it, and see there, it's almost like that crustacean is perceiving that there's life up there. So we're literally going to be here perceiving that there's life like ours up there, not necessarily fish people, but life up there in the source that's literally coming down in spirit form, in high frequency form. Okay? This is why I never rule out that, I never say life doesn't exist in other dimensions. Like, who can say that? It's just stupid to even say it. Okay, I've got a little bit of time now. So with the 4th D, we had the balance, okay, and with the physical. So balancing the masculine and feminine aspects of the physical, learning to kind of be a bit gentle if we need to, or being a little bit more stronger if we can. And the Empress, which is the nutrition and taking care of the internal body, the internal health. And then we moved on to the feeling, which was the feeling of insight and empowerment that we get from looking after ourselves and balancing that out. And we will start to feel more in touch with, I think, more in touch with past life stuff, and more in touch with ancient cultures, and more in touch with the earth. Okay, this is what we need. This is where we need to be. But then, and then it's going to be a case of, okay, just keep breathing, right? Breath, and understanding how the mind is connected with that, and how the thoughts are connected to the breath. Okay, and the breath is connected to the thoughts, right? And then for the higher self, we had this beautiful little cleansing and this greater connection to source, and even our own inner child. I mean, even the inner child connection will probably happen first. That's how, actually, that is how it happened with me. I did more in-depth personal work, and then I got more connected to inner child, okay, and then the spirituality kind of happened from there, right? Now, so with this one, 3rd D, we had, the strength, but keeping in mind that we need to balance masculine and feminine here. So if you're a woman, don't just be passive and submissive, do something active. And if you're a male, like this male lion here, don't just do the, overpowering strength work. Try and do some mind-body connection and some stretch and relaxation, okay, in terms of body. Now, the feelings in the 3rd D are, and this is interesting, it's fear. And that is so true. The 3rd D matrix keeps people in fear, right? But this is going on. And previous day we just had this card come up with the opportunity card. So it's sort of saying that people are going to be afraid when this is happening. But the thoughts along that, what we need to do, the mindset that we need to kind of have, is not just the trickster, but we need to be resourceful and clever. Okay, we have to tune into our own heart here to find out what it is that we need to do that gives us a sense of order and peace, and this whole soul business here, the whole soul thing. Okay, and this is where it becomes mastery, and this is, see how it's sort of almost looking up. It's like a spiritual viewpoint. Okay, we need to have a spiritual viewpoint in order to move on from this fear that's rooted in the material. Okay, and then on from that, once we've got that soul awareness happening, is that really we can then sort of run with it, and we do have the transformation happening, particularly if we can get our divine masculine and our divine feminine activated, and we start to accept that our higher self is actually running the show, and we are here to assist that process because we are the carriage, and we are the wheels and stuff like that. Okay, the physical form and the conscious personality, right? So yeah, the butterfly transformation, which is just awesome. Like, can you believe the symbols? Can you believe the symbols of these spirit cards? Just animal wise, okay, we've had transformation in 3rd D. 4th D, we've had cleansing, okay, and then in the final 5th D, we've had illumination. Like, they are beautiful cards, right? Yeah, and even in the animal cards for the thinking, we started off with trickster, which is sort of to do with being clever and resourceful. Okay, 3rd D. 4th D, we went into the breath, becoming aware of the breath-mind connection, because you can use the breath to change your thoughts. Okay, and then we had the endurance. So that's really putting your mind on keeping your feet on the ground. Consciousness here being really balanced again. Okay, in what you're thinking and what you're doing, balancing doing with thinking. Okay, and having them aligned in some way as well, aligning your thoughts with your doings. Okay, now the feeling ones, animals, we've had fear in the 3rd D. Okay, but then we move up into beautiful jump into 4th D. We've actually got the freedom. So we've gone from fear to freedom. That's a huge jump. Okay, and that's power also, power and freedom. And then we've had the protection, which was of course that love vibration that we're going to be having in the 5th D, which is very protective. But not only that, we will feel that we are protected. Okay, we'll be able to sense that from other consciousnesses actually, and other people around us, and others, and our spirit guides. Okay, and then physically we've had the deception. So it's saying, don't be deceived by the physical, don't be deceived by the appearance, but at the same time it's wise to be balanced. And then guess what, that flows on to 4th D. We had physically, we need to be more balanced, have a balanced approach to your fitness, health and well-being. Okay, and then finally we had this beautiful in the 5th D, physically, the coming into more internal awareness of what's happening energetically, and also the activation of our light body, okay, which is the one that surrounds our physical form. So that's really beautiful, and I really love this because it's connected to earth, and obviously that tree goes up into the sky. It's just awesome. I love the symbology of that. Now, thank you folks for listening. Okay, I think I've got to wrap it up there. I've got to really go get myself a drink, and not whiskey or brandy or anything like that, probably just more water. See you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye. Oh, that was the mind, the body, feeling, thinking and higher self spread for the next 2 or 3 years for the 3rd dimensional frequency, 4th dimensional and 5th dimensional frequencies. Okay, bye.